We are back, everyone, and we're continuing down the list. List of spoilers is what I'm trying to say. Rectus the Showstopper. See the Showstopper? We'll see. 4 colorless, 1 black, 1 red. Flying Trample. When Rectus the Showstopper, looks like Snowstopper, Showstopper, enters the battlefield, flip a coin for each creature that isn't a demon, devil, or imp. Destroy each creature whose coin comes up tails. There's one imp. That's good. That's Pilfering Imp. They are probably never paired in the same deck though. Flying Trample, really nice. 6/6 body, really nice. Legendary. Doesn't really matter on a 6 mana costing creature anyway. Flip a coin though. Flip a coin. So I think you're imagining a scenario where you have 6 creatures against you and you're flipping coins and you're removing 3, and that's good. You're removing maybe half of those creatures. And the ones which are left are probably not able to deal with the Showstopper. But it's random. And who is going to tolerate that randomness in his deck without going mad? There's already too much randomness with lands and people getting frustrated. Adjusting the camera. People getting frustrated with the the RNG, not drawing lands, drawing only lands, and then adding Rectus Showstopper. People are just going to go nuts. And no, I don't think people want this effect in Magic, flip a coin kind of effects, because it's not fun. It's not funny for your opponent. It's not fun when you win with coin flips, I don't think. Like, why not flip a coin in the beginning? Why not just play coin flip the game? Why not just, okay, if I flip this coin and I win, then I win, and if it comes up tails or whatever, you lose. You lose either way. Oh. Anywho, I think this is a decent card, but since it's flip a coin, it's yeah, depends on your flip. Are you a good flipper? Moving on. Wilderness Reclamation. 3 colorless, 1 green. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. Yeah, I've seen this spoiled already. It's amazing. It doubles your mana. It's an enchantment. If you play another, it triples your mana. It will be played in every control deck. Everything that runs instants. It combos with the red card, which puts something into play. There's nothing bad about this card. It will be played. It will maybe see play in other formats. You can get it down on turn 3 with a Llanowar or some ramp. Yeah. It's amazing. Moving on. Growth Chamber Guardian. 1 colorless, 1 green. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on Growth Chamber Guardian, you may search your library for a card named Growth Chamber Guardian. Reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So you get another creature whenever you adapt it. You can adapt as an instant. Decent. Actually decent. If you are running a lot of counter spells and other things, you can just keep up your mana. If someone tries to target this, you're just gonna go, oh, no, I adapt it. No matter what, removal it is. If it's a removal which doesn't kill it, if it adapts to, then probably nobody's going to target it with that. But if they are, then you save it, and otherwise you get another. So, yeah. Good card, I guess. The only problem is if it just, when you play it out at 2, and if someone kills it before you have the chance to adapt it, it doesn't do anything. And if your opponent is ahead on board and you have to adapt this and someone answers it, it's horrible. So, on second thought, it's decent. I would downgrade it from great to decent. Moving on. Tap target creature, draw a card. That's a decent effect. Create 2 1/1 colorless top-tier artifact creature tokens with flying. So the first part is 1 and either a blue and or a white. The other part is 2 colorless, white, blue for 2 1/1 colorless top-tier artifacts and gain 1 life for each. Both effects are weak. Both effects are not probably in the same kind of deck. You don't want them in the same kind of deck, so I'm moving on. Bolrak Clan Crusher. Will he crush the clans? 3 colorless, 1 red, 1 green. Remove a +1/+1 counter from a creature you control. Bolrak deals 2 damage to any target. The effect is good. Mana cost is insanely high for a shitty body. We already know, if you remember, we had a 5/5 for 4, and this is a 4/4 for 5, so... and you're tapping it, so you are not you're not attacking with it. So you play this on 5, you have to wait a turn for it to deal 2 damage. It deals 4 damage if it attacks. No, limited. Moving on. Skargan Hellkite. 3 colorless, 2 red. Riot. This creature enters the battlefield with your choice of a +1 counter on it or haste. Yeah, we know Riot. Flying. That's good. 3 colorless, 1 red. Skargan Hellkite deals 2 damage, divided as you choose among any 1 or 2 target creatures. Activate its ability only if Skargan Hellkite has a +1/+1 counter on it. So if you do the Riot with +1 counters on it, then it's a 5/5, which can next turn kill 2 creatures, but then it didn't attack. You can play this with the Planeswalker, whatever his name is. And it's a decent, actually a decent dragon. It's a 5/5 dragon. It has a relevant ability. You can give it haste if you're close to killing your opponent. Yeah, it's in a dragon deck, this is good. It's a good creature. It's not amazing, but it's a good creature in a dragon deck. Otherwise, if it's not a dragon deck, I think there are better options in the 5-drop slot. We already have, you know, the recurring Phoenix, the Phenai pair in red. Excuse me. Teysa Karlov. 2 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Creature tokens you control have vigilance and lifelink. It's a shitty body. It's legendary. It's high mana. Tokens don't get bigger. They get vigilance and lifelink. Lifelink is good. I think it's good. Vigilance, not that relevant on tokens because they're probably 1/1 anyway, so they're either getting killed or your opponent doesn't have anything on board. Because if he has something, that's going to trade with your tokens. Trigger an additional time. So it's basically only Afterlife, and there's the Night which you draw cards from. No, there's too few cards which interact with this. And it's too high mana cost. I don't see it. Moving on. Precognitive Perception. 3 colorless, 2 blue. Draw 3 cards. That's great. It's an instant. That's great. If you cast a spell during your main phase, instead scry 3, then draw 3 cards. Which will never happen. Let's draw 3 cards. I have draw 2 cards with Jumpstart. Compared to this, I think that the one we have is unfortunately better, is it? Not sure. Draw 3 cards is strong. You will never play this during your main phase, that's the problem, so the addendum will never happen. But if we just judge it by draw 3 cards for 5, might see play. Might see play, not sure. Moving on. Spawn of Mayhem. 2 colorless, 2 black. 4/4. Decent. It says Flying Trample, so that's actually decent. Spectacle. 1 colorless, 2 black. You may cast this for its Spectacle. Yeah, we know how Spectacle works. At the beginning of your upkeep, Spawn of Mayhem deals 1 damage to each player. Then, if you have 10 or less life, put a +1/+1 counter on Spawn of Mayhem. So it's if you Spectacle this, if you have a creature out that deals damage, you play this out. Next turn, it deals 4 damage because it's Flying Trample, and it deals 1 damage from its ability, so it deals 5. So it's essentially, in a way, it's a 5/5 flyer. It's not really, but it's a semi 5/5 flyer for 3. That's good enough to see play. Yep, it's good. It's good. In the right deck, it's amazing. And the other part of having 10 or less life and putting counters is also relevant. So, yeah, good card. Ravager Worm. 3 colorless, 1 red, 2 green. Riot. 4/5. Whenever Ravager Worm enters the battlefield, choose up to 1. Ravager Worm fights target creature you don't control. That's nice to have fight and riot on the same card. Destroy target land with an destroy target land? With an activated ability that isn't a mono ability. What? Okay, so he's fighting lands or he's fighting creatures, I guess. Lands are not putting up much of a fight. Yeah, it's decent. It's a 5/6 if you allow it to fight something. Can kill something when it gets down. Yeah, it's decent card. 6 mana is much, but at the same time it can kill, you know, Niv Mizzet or whatever. Most creatures it can actually kill. So it's 6 mana, it kills something, so it solves a problem for you. It's get one thing out of the way. It has an additional benefit of actually being able to kill a land, which might be relevant. So, yeah, decent card. Very high mana cost, of course, but it's it's a 2 for 1. So, yeah, it's decent. Moving on. Serif of the Scales. 2 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. Flying. Serif of the Scales gains Vigilance until end of turn. Okay, 1 black, Serif of the Scales gains Death Touch until end of turn. Okay, it's a bit janky, but I'm fine with that. Afterlife 2. Okay, so Afterlife 2 is kind of the redeeming factor for this card. Flying. So this is like a mini Phoenix, I guess you could compare it to. The Phoenix comes back any number of times. It's a 4/3 flying. The same mana cost. This comes back as to 1/1. The Phoenix comes back at itself. It's just worse than the Phoenix in most cases. It's just worse than the Phoenix. No, I don't see this. Amplifier. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Until your next turn, Amplifier's base power becomes twice that card's power, and its base toughness becomes twice that card's toughness. Put the revealed card on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, this is meant to be played with something like Strider Harness, I guess, which gives it haste. And then you're supposed to have a Galta in your deck, and you're supposed to... does it gain trample now? Until next turn. Power. No, it doesn't even have trample. So how are you supposed to kill something with this? No. The combo requires you to have a Strider Harness and something which gives trample, and your opponent to not have removal. No, this will never work. Mass Manipulation. Gain control X target creatures and or planeswalkers. Okay, so if you pay 1 mana, if you want to take over 1 thing, then you need to pay, let's see, what is that? 6 mana for 1 thing. 8 for 2. It's a sorcery. No, it's just too much mana. Too much mana. Moving on. Judith the Scourge Diva. Other creatures you control get +1/+0. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Judith the Scourge Diva deals 1 damage to any target. We already have this dice deal 1 damage to any target, but this time it's non-token and it's creature you control. I think we already have what's called the reach dude, whatever, death touch, deals damage whenever something dies. That's even your opponent, I think, so pretty sure. So this has an +1/+0 effect. This looks kind of crappers. I would love to put a shock on this. Shock! Any removal, you're dead. Does nothing. Or even if it survives, it's not that bad. No. Moving on. Kaya, Ors of the Usurper. Yeah, I saw this earlier. Exile, it's 1 colorless, 1 white, 1 black. Exile up to 2 target creature cards from a single graveyard. You gain 2 life if at least 1 creature was exiled this way. Exile target non-land permanent converted mana cost 1 or less. -1. Kaya, Ors of Usurper deals damage to target player equals to the number of cards that player owns in exile, and you gain that much life. Okay. So things that cost 1, which you can exile, are very, very few in standard. Very few. So that's never going to happen. You can count on it. Against most decks, it's never going to happen. Exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. You gain 2 life if at least 1 creature was exiled this way. This you can get off. So if you want life gain, you can get that off. And then you can get the ultimate off. It doesn't protect itself. It only gains your life. It can be killed. No, it's shit unless you're only looking for some way of getting life gain in these colors in a weird way. Moving on. Dovin, Grand Arbiter. Until end of turn, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on Dovin. Create a 1/1 colorless top tier artifact creature token with flying. You gain 1 life. Look at the top 10 cards of your library. Put 3 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So I guess this is comparable to the Jace Castaway card, which creates a 2/2 illusion, which dies whenever it gets targeted. But it's just -1. Castaway is -2, so this is better than Jace Castaway with only that ability. Deals combat damage, put a loyalty counter. I guess if you're running this, it combos with itself, since top tiers will deal damage. You're probably running flyers or something. The ultimate is really strong. You can get it off on the turn after this comes out. And it's a strong effect. Yeah, this is a decent card, but it requires a very, very specialized deck to work. But in that, something like my Only Flyers deck could maybe use this if it splashes blue. Problem then is, splashing another color in that mono white deck is really hard, because you need to make sure that your lands come into play untapped every turn, because else you're screwed. That's the problem with it. If it would have been, 1 colorless, 2 white, then it would have been perfect for that deck. Moving on. Sphinx of Foresight. 2 colorless, 2 blue. You may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, scry 3 at the beginning of your first upkeep. Flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. From your opening hand. There's an interesting effect there. Scry 3. So this will go into any deck that has a lot of discard outlets. I guess any deck. The first card I thought about when I saw this is the Phoenix, which comes back from the graveyard. Because you can search for that Phoenix and you can just discard this Sphinx of Foresight because you don't need it after the first effect. And you have a lot of discard outlets anyway, so... yeah. In that type of deck, which has a lot of discard, this will be good. It's not super amazing, but it's good. And it will be included in those decks, for sure. Moving on. Biomass familiar. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. Interesting. Seen this before, this kind of effect. This effect can't reduce the amount of mana and ability cost to activate to less than 1 mana. Saw this in Training Grounds for, it was an enchantment for 1 blue, I think, a while back. Never saw play. Because there was no creature which they haven't thought about this before on. I think it's the same now. I can't think of a single creature which has a relevant ability which this would, break that creature. Because it can't be like, oh, it's a little bit nice, if you get it out. It has to be, something that almost breaks the game if you get these two together. Because it's a shitty body, it's 2/2. It has the second ability here. The next time target creature adapts this turn, it adapts as though it had no +1/+1 counters on it. And that's good, I guess. Still, the problem with these two abilities is that they've thought it through so much that there's no creatures really which this would break. All the adapt creatures that I've seen so far have been quite shit, except for the Drake. There's like one good adapt creature. So, no. And 2 less to activate. The problems with the adapt creatures is that there's no... Even if you get the adapt off, it's usually adapt 1 or adapt 2. So if you're comboing to get 1/1/1 counter, no. I think this is more likely to, create a combo in some other format rather than standard. Because in standard, there's nothing. Deputy of Detention. 1 colorless, 1 white, 1 blue. When Deputy of Detention enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls and all other non-land permanents that player controls with the same name as that permanent until Deputy of Detention leaves the battlefield. So it's a detention sphere, I think it was called. Which takes everything. Yeah, this is good. It's a creature. It removes... Worst case, it's just a shittier hostage taker, but it costs less than hostage taker, so... In any weenie deck, this is a good card. It will be played. It's especially good versus, of course, tokens, kills all the tokens, but I'm thinking... and there will be a lot of tokens. Actually, this might be amazing. This might be amazing in this upcoming set with all the afterlife, and there's already a lot of token creators. This might not just be good, this might be amazing. But we'll see. It's easy to kill, so they'll come back. But tokens won't come back, though. And if you use this, for instance... it's really good. There's the Flash enchantment, which removes your creatures. If your opponent will probably be running 4 of that, so if you hit 2 of that with this, when they come back they don't have anything to target, so yeah, this could be great actually. The Deputy of Detention, I put my trust in this card. Depending on the metagame, of course, but it's quite likely we'll see a lot of enchantments, and it's quite likely can take planeswalkers also, can take anything. It doesn't trigger Niv Miss. It's very risky to put Niv Miss it under here, but if you have to, you have to, Yep, great card. Might even be the next card which everyone hates. I'm guessing. Hydroid Crisis. When you cast this spell, it's X, green and blue. Whenever you cast this spell, you gain half X life and you draw half X cards round down each time. Flying Trample, Hydroid Crisis enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it. So if you play it for 0, this just dies and does nothing. If you play this for 1, you get a 1/1 Flying Trample. That's not amazing. And you round down so you don't draw any cards. If you play this for 2, you draw 1 card. You get a 2/2 Flying Trample. That's decent in itself. Like a Flying Trample, draw 1 card for 4 is not amazing, but it's decent. I mean, if you compare this to... It doesn't interact with your opponent, but drawing a card... if you compare this to something that draws cards, there's like a, I don't know, Stray Cat maybe? It's a bad example, but costs 3 mana, get a 1/2, shitty body, and you draw a card. This is a good body. Flying Trample is actually good. But being able to cast this... when you cast this spell, it's not when it comes on the battlefield. So you're always drawing the card. Doesn't matter if it gets countered. You can play this for a lot and draw a lot of cards. Yeah. This is amazing. If you've got... It's not, you know, it's not amazing in an aggro deck. It's amazing in something that ramps and has a lot of mana, or that sits on its ass and just defends for a long time. Because you can even play this... You can even play this card even if you don't care about the creature. Even if you are going to wipe your board, you know, next turn anyway or something. You can just put this down, draw the cards, because it can't get countered. You don't care about the creature anyway. Like, even if there's no text under here, even if there's no creature, it's still a decent effect. Like, can't be countered, draw half X cards, gain half X life is decent in itself. So, yeah, I think this will see play. Stomping Ground, not too exciting. We already knew that Stomping Ground was coming. It's just the red-green shock land. But it will be played, of course, no doubt about it. Yeah, that's it for today. I'll continue my way down the list tomorrow. We'll see what we find.